Look at who joined us today. Bro, you're looking skinnier, bro. I see it, dude. I see it in your face. I was going to tell you on the media and just DM you. Be like, man, he's thinning out, bro. Good for you, man.
I still got a goal to get to 190. So I'm at 198 as of right now.
Solid, man. Good for you. So what we're going to be talking about today is getting offers accepted. And the reason why this is so critical, I'm preparing for... coming out to spend some time with you and our boy, Angel Garcia. And we asked for stats, right, for the slide deck. And in your geographic area, which is very similar to areas around the country, it was wild, dude. The sales from 2021 in June to 2024 in June, they went from like 7,500 to like 4,000 and change. It's a 58% drop in sales, which is wild, right? And what's interesting too is that the inventory stayed about the same, during that whole time frame. So we have very low inventory and we have less transactions happening. I guess if you could, Jose, walk through the beginning of that conversation, which actually starts with the listing agent. Like walk through that conversation and how it begins.
Well, what I wanted to do as well too is, now that obviously buyers agents are going to have to get buyer representation agreement signed, one of the big questions that a lot of agents are asking, like, okay, what value proposition could I provide to my buyers? So this spun off last week's episode where we talked about that at the Morales Group. One of the value propositions that 90% of the time whenever we submit offers, we get those accepted. Now, when I make a claim like that, people are like, oh my God, like, how is that even possible? And what I would say is that the way it's possible is by following a process. And today we're going to be teaching you guys that process to get more of your clients' offer accepted. Because if you make that one of your value propositions where you have a process for getting people's offers accepted, it makes you more valuable in the marketplace. What it also does is it makes it so that if somebody's struggling to get an offer accepted, you can approach them with confidence and be like, look, like, I know you've gone the last 6 offers rejected. What if I had a proven plan for helping you get your next offer accepted? Is that something that you would be open to?
Right.
And we're not in an exclusive agreement with another agent or anything like that.
Exactly. So being that we're going to have to list buyers, us as listing agents, we would go in and give a kind of a value proposition as to why it would make sense for someone to hire us versus someone else. And part of that value proposition, which we discussed last week, is, hey, my list to sales price ratio. So meaning the ratio, the difference between what we list the property for and what it actually sells for, what the average is in the multiple listing service and how we actually get, more than that. Well, the same is true now. If you're going to be listing buyers, part of your value proposition can be offer to offer acceptance ratio. And that's what Jose's saying here, that it's a way to actually differentiate yourself from other agents.
And this is what I would say to you. Like, look back at the last 10 offers that you submitted with the client. Look back, and then how many of those 10 offers did you get accepted? Meaning if you went 10 for 10, you were great at this process already. There's a very high likelihood that we're following a very similar process. If you are 3 out of 10, where 3 of them got accepted, there could be some work that needs to be done. And this would be an episode that you want to watch until the end. So this is kind of what I ask agents. So let's say that your buyer sees a property, they like it, and then they ask you, Jose, what should we submit an offer at? Now, what most agents do at this point is they're like, well, it's listed at 800. Submit at 820 because I think that there's going to be a lot of competition. Or what most agents do is they'll say, well, it's listed at 800. The last model match sold at 820. So come in at $820,000. I think that if you're approaching it from that manner, you are doing your client a disservice. And I'll explain to you why I believe you're doing your client a disservice. What if the marketplace is going up like this, like it was in 2021, where the market is going up? Are comps a good indicator of what this property is going to sell for? Like if something sold 3 months ago and it sold 3 months ago and the market is going up because of low inventory, is that going to be an accurate way of telling them, hey, submit at 820 because the last one sold at 820 3 months ago? Probably not, right? Mm-hmm. because it's going to be outdated information. So what I teach our agents is whenever somebody asks us that is a really good question. Let me talk to the listing agent. Let me try to find out some information to see if they have any offers. If they have some offers, what range are the offers in at? So that way I can make a proper recommendation. Is it okay if I get back to you with that information? So instead of verbally vomiting on them, oh, you should come in at 800, you should come in at 810, you should come in at 815. No, what matters is what is on the table right now, and that will let you know what you need to come in at. Let's say you take the first approach, oh, come in at 820 because you didn't talk to the listing agent. Let's say the listing agent already has an offer at 840. What are the probabilities that your offer is going to get accepted in that situation? Hold on. Look into my eyes.
Hey, I love it, bro. He's taking a cue from me. He's like, look into my eyes. The chances are 0. Let's go.
It's nothing. You're not going to get your offer accepted. So for you to give that advice without having done any homework, it's almost like, I look at it like, what's it called when a doctor performs bad surgery? It's
malpractice.
Like malpractice. It's almost like malpractice because you're not helping them get the outcome that they want. Now, think about this. Let's say that the first thing you tell them is 820, and then you go back to the listing agent and you find out that the highest offer is going to be 850. How difficult is it going to be for you to get them from 820 to 850 when you told them that 820 was a good offer and you told them that's where what the property is worth? It's going to be extremely difficult for you to do that. So instead, talk to the listing agent.
Yeah, it's 100%. So prior to giving any guidance, and this goes back to what I've been harping on, and I was preparing today, Jose, for our leadership retreat that's coming up in the Dominican Republic. It's going to be dope. And one of the things we're going to be talking about, and I'll be teaching on, is like story brand. And I think what happens here is that a lot of agents try to make themselves like the hero, when the hero is really the client. You're just a guide. So prior to giving any guidance, it's like, well, let me go talk to the listing agent and find out. Obviously, we're going to fight for you tooth and nail to get you the best possible terms and conditions. They're going to be kind of the best source of information in terms of if there's any leeway or things of that nature. And then I'll get back to you. Now let's go from that, because that's the bridge, right? Like that ends the conversation that you're having with the buyer. Now we're having a conversation with the actual listing agent. So talk to us, Jose, about how that conversation goes.
So basically, I'll call the listing agent. I'll be like, Mr. Agent, Jose Morales here with eXp Realty, calling about your property on 123 Banana Street. I'll be very brief and straight to the point. I know your time is valuable. Are there any offers on the table? And then they may say, yeah, there's 3 offers on the table right now. Great. Have you already presented those offers, or if not, when are you planning on presenting those offers?
Now tell me your logic behind that questioning. Why are you asking that question?
Well, I want to know how much time I have right off the bat, basically. Like if I've already presented the offer, I want to know if it's too late for me to submit an offer or if I still have time.
Got it. Basically. So really that question for everybody listening, and the reason I knew why, I just wanted him to say it out loud. The reason is because it's around timing. So where are you in this process? Have you presented any offers? Do we have an opportunity to present? Like, just where are we in the process? Good. What's the next question that you'll ask?
And it's not in a specific order that I asked them, but if you're part of our eXp Elite Builders, I actually have like 50 questions that you can ask. It doesn't mean you're going to ask, basically, but that you can ask to basically try to find out as much information about the property. So like, let's say that they say, no, we haven't presented the offers, but we're presenting tomorrow at 5 p.m. Fantastic. Just out of curiosity, do you have any offers above X? Like, so let's say it's listed at 700. Because they have 3 offers, I'm assuming that they probably have offers above the asking price. So I'll say, hey, look, do you have any offers above 720? Basically. Now, if they have offers at 720, now I know that 700 is out of the picture and that the offers are above 720. So I may say, just out of curiosity, do you have any offers above 740? No, I don't. So what does that tell me? It tells me that the range are between 720 and 740,000. Now, I may ask them and be like, look, just out of curiosity, how many of the offers are above 720? All 3 of them are above 720. So I'm like, okay, Okay. And then do you mind me asking, for the highest offer, what type of financing does the highest offer have? Well, the highest offer has conventional financing, or the highest offer is actually cash. Okay. Just out of curiosity, is the highest offer contingent upon selling their property? Okay, just out of curiosity. So I start asking questions, and the questions that I ask are tailored around finances. So let me actually see if I can pull up a document, and maybe you can fill in the meantime, Aaron. So I have a
Yeah.
document as to like what.
Well, what I see you doing there is it's very intentional and it's very purposeful. So you're asking questions around time and then asking multiple questions to get an idea of range as far as what is it actually going to take in the form of an offer to increase the probability that your buyer's offer will be accepted. That's what I see.
100%. And then this is the way I describe it. Imagine playing poker and knowing what all the other players have. If you know what all the other players have, it would be so easy for you to win at poker. And the reason it would be so easy is because you know when to bet and you know when to fold. It's the same thing whenever you're asking the listing agent for information, because if you find out the entire picture, like, okay, there's 3 offers. 2 of them are conventional financing. One of them has 20% down. The other one has 3% down. What type of contingencies are important to your client? Meaning like inspection, appraisal. Have any of them removed the inspection contingency? Have any of them removed the appraisal contingency? Now what you can do with all this information is you can strategize as to how to submit the most competitive offer. Are any of them offering a rent back to your client? Like, what is important to your client? What is your client looking? Does your client have any preference between a conventional offer and an FHA offer?
Wait, time out. So as you're saying this, I'm seeing on Instagram, Hide YNY said most agents won't answer any of those questions. So let's talk about getting pushback there. So let's say you start to ask and they're like, come on, Jose, I can't tell you that stuff. Like, how will you handle that?
So you're right. You don't have to tell me that stuff. You can tell me that stuff if you want, and then I'll transition to something else. I'll ask them a different question. So most of the time when they tell you about that they can't answer that, it's mostly related to price.
Yeah.
When they tell you that, most of the time it is. So what I do is I basically hit a dead end. I'll say something along the lines, well, look, you technically can. I understand that you're choosing not to, and I respect that 100%. Just so you know, the reason I'm asking this is my client really wants this property. My client is reaching out to me 3 to 4 times a day telling me, Jose, I need you to get this property for me. Aaron, have you ever been in a position where your client is just like, this is my dream home. Like, I need to get this property. Have you ever been in a position like that, Aaron?
I have, yeah.
So I'm not trying to obviously get you in any sort of trouble. I'm not trying to be pushy. I just have a client who really, really wants this property. Just out of curiosity, like, which escrow company are you, do you want on the offer? Just out of curiosity, do you, should we ask for termite? Just out of curiosity, how would your client feel about home warranty? Just out of curiosity, what would be an ideal close of escrow time? And then I've asked a couple questions. I've let the guard down again, and then I'll recircle back to price.
Yeah, and then
but I'll ask price in a different way now. So like, if I ask you the same question twice, Aaron, and you reject me both times, does that feel like I'm being pushy? If I ask you the same question twice, the same exact way, it does. And it also makes it seem like you're not listening. Not listening to me, because I asked you the same question twice. So the problem is that once agents hit that point and they get rejected, they don't know how to ask the same question in a different way. Therefore, they don't want to ask the same question again. So they basically stop asking that question. Right. But what's a different way of asking for price?
Yeah. Well, and you go ahead.
Aaron, if I submitted at $750, would I be the highest offer?
Yeah. So you just asked it in a different way. And what's popping into my head is like, it's the same thing when you ask a seller. It's like, did you have an idea at all of realistically what you were thinking in terms of price? And like, well, why should I tell you that? I don't want to tell you that. It's like, well, my intention we're doing the exact same thing. And I want everybody to understand this is the exact same skill set. He's just applying it to buyers, where it's like, well, my intention in asking is not to be nosy. It's just to kind of gauge your expectation. Sometimes what people want and what's realistic, sometimes those are different. So I'm just trying to see where you're at with that. And I'm wondering, because I'm looking here at one of these online sites that give estimates of value, and they're saying around X. Is that in alignment with what you were thinking? So to Jose's point, if he would have said to me, he says, wow, I'm not going to tell you that, and I just asked him the same question again, that's it.
I would get rejected again, and now it feels like I'm not.
Now they're mad.
Like you're not listening. Now they're mad. Yeah. Now they're mad.
So now they're mad. Yeah.
Now, when that agent said they won't tell you that, that's not true. We do this all the time. It just means that you need to learn a different skill to be able to collect that type of information. And I can tell you this with 100% certainty, because I used to do that when I represented buyers, and I have taught the agents that work on our team how to get a higher offer to acceptance ratio. So this is not an idea that I haven't tested, or this is not an idea that
you
I'm telling
read in a book and you thought it was cute. No.
This is an idea that we implement on our team 100% of the time. You don't believe me? There's an agent by the name of Jaime Fernandez on my team that implements this all the time, and his offer to acceptance ratio is really high. So
I just thought to myself, another way that I would push back sometimes is like, and again, this is what we would call polite confrontation. It's polite. So when you get the pushback, you're like, yep, I get it. I know our job is to put this deal together. It's never to keep it apart, right? I'm also aware that your clients want you to help them to get as much as they possibly can. And my intention is to help you look great in your client's eyes. So if we came in at 750, would we be the highest offer? And then shut up. So if you notice, like, what we're doing is we're asking the same question in multiple different ways. And what I just did too is, like, again, that polite confrontation. Our job is to put it together, not to keep it apart. I know your clients want you to help them to net as much as possible. And my job is to make you look as great as we possibly can. So if we were to come in at this, would that allow us to be able to put this together? Or would that increase the chances that, our buyer's offer will get accepted? And to Jose's point, on a very regular basis, people will be like, yeah, that'll probably get it done. More often.
Not only that, but like, this is what I think. So basic scripts, you have one way of asking the question. And that's where most people are at. Meaning, you ask the question, you get rejected, you have no other way of asking it. What if I told you that when you're asking for a seller's motivation, there's probably 4 or 5 different ways that you can ask for the motivation? It's the same thing in this situation. So what's another way that you can ask for price? Let's say I get rejected on the, hey, are there any offers above X? He says, I'm not allowed to tell you this. I go back to other questions about escrow, contingencies, and other things, and I recircle back and I say, hey, if I submitted at 750, would I be the highest offer? I get rejected again. I go back to other questions. Hey, what's your seller situation? Why are they moving? Are they asking for a rent back? Or are they looking for any sort of additional contingencies? Then I'll circle back and I'll say, like, hey, just out of curiosity, like, when you met with the seller, what was your original recommendation as it relates to the price? Like, when you met with the seller, just out of curiosity, like, what was the price that you originally recommended? When the seller asked you what you thought it could sell for, what was that conversation like as it relates to the price? So for our EXP agents, I've broken it down to different things. Status questions. Status questions are, how many offers? Are there any offers on the table?
Have you? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Have you, when are you presenting? When are you presenting offers? Have you already presented? Is your seller the type of seller that usually counters back? Or do you think that your seller is going to counter back? Or do you think that they may move forward with an offer? Then there's pricing questions. Are there any offers above X price? Is the highest offer above X? Are there, when you met with the seller, what was your original recommendation as the price? Now, here's an additional pushback that you can utilize. Now, let's say that you've hit a dead end and you've asked 4 or 5 different ways for price and they won't share it with you. They'll share with you other things. Here's another way of asking for price. So, like, let's say they say, like, the offers are above 720 but below 740, and you ask, are there any offers above 730? They may say, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to disclose that to you. You can guess. Be like, hey, Aaron, I'm guessing that your probably offers are around maybe 732, 733, 734, somewhere in that range. And at that point, they may be like, and they may not tell you, but you have to use your emotional intelligence to be able to listen to what they're not telling you in words. So, Aaron, like what I'm hearing from you is your offers are probably somewhere between 730, maybe 732, 733, 735. I'm guessing.
And I'm going to be like, yeah, like somewhere around there. Like, and you can hear
it in the voice.
You can hear it in their voice, them kind of like a
wanting to tell
tonality or like confirmation of what you're saying. You're like, okay, good. And now that we've acknowledged that, now you can move forward.
Yeah.
Right. So once you've asked that and they're like, yeah. And a good portion of people, because what I'm aware of is people don't like humans. They don't like any conflict and they want to resolve it very quickly. So when you are direct like that and you ask people straightforward questions, more often than not, they'll be like, yeah, Jose, somewhere around there. Or reluctantly, they'll be like, yeah, like that's about right. You know what I mean?
Well, here's even a thing that, like, let's say you hit a dead end, basically. Like, you're like, and I've had this happen, bro, where I hit a dead end. I'll be like, look, Jose, look, Aaron, obviously you don't have to share anything with me, and I respect that 100%. And obviously I respect you as a business person, and obviously I would never want to do anything to get you in trouble. Here's what I'm aware of. I'm aware that this is a relationship-based business, meaning that right now you have a listing that my client wants. In the future, the roles may switch and you may call me and you may say to me, Jose, I've got a client that really wants this property. And at that point, because this is a very relationship-based business, this could play out two ways in the future. One is a very similar approach to the approach that you're taking right now, where it's like, look, I'm not allowed to share any information. And now you're in the position where your client really wants a property, and we never got the opportunity to establish that relationship just because of obviously the way that we're communicating right now. The other approach is we basically are a little bit more transparent with each other. We try to put this together in a way where it's a win-win situation, and that opens up a new relationship for you in the future. Not only that, Aaron, but I list about 100 properties a year, and I can promise you this, that the roles will be switched at some point, meaning right now, my client wants your property. I almost guarantee you that within the next year, you're going to call me and ask me the same exact question. And depending on how this conversation goes,
bro, hey, you know what that is? That is the gangster king of Oxnard being like, listen to me very closely, okay? There will come a time in the future where you will want to have this conversation with me. So depending on how this conversation goes, that'll dictate how that conversation goes. So my intention in sharing that with you is not to try to scare you in any way. It's just an accurate assessment of reality. So the more you're willing to share, the more equipped I am to make you look great in the eyes of your seller and help you to get an offer accepted. That will close, right? Because, you know, we're very financially strong. So I guess I'm wondering, if we came in at this, do you think that would cause us to be able to be, you know,
to be able to make this happen, basically?
Make this happen.
This is the stuff people don't talk about. Like, meaning like the reality is, Aaron, this is a relationship-based business. And the very first time I found out about it is I had an agent that I called and I was like, look, like, I have a client that wants to submit. He goes, I'm sorry, you're too late. I already gave a verbal to somebody else. Then that agent calls that agent that was my friend, and he goes, hey, look, I have a client. And he goes, is there any way we can do to get the deal in there? And he goes, look, man, I've already told the other agent a verbal, but you and I have a very good relationship. If you submit an offer, I will do everything. I will present it and try to help you out in any way that I can. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, there is a book that is unwritten as to how the real estate world operates. And so far, I hadn't seen anything like this. And I'm like, okay, relationship. So value the relationship. So there's multiple agents in the county where I like working with them. And there's multiple agents that like working with me. And I know that they're very good agents, and they know that I'm a very good agent. And in some cases, the seller will ask you for your recommendation. They may say, hey, look, there's two offers that are equally the same. which offer would you recommend? And you may be able to say something along the lines, well, look, I have never worked with this other agent, so I can't give you really any feedback on that. Or you can say, hey, look, this other agent, I've worked with them 10 times. Every single one of the 10 times they performed, and they've been very easy to work with.
Yeah, and that would happen frequently. I remember, because of the types of properties, 50% of our business was probate on the listing side. We would get investors that reach out to us all the time. And, the investors that had high levels of integrity, were super honest. If they said they were going to do something, they did it.
They did it.
And they executed. Multiple times owners would be like, well, we got a bunch of offers on the table. Which one do you think we should proceed with? And I'm like, well, here's my professional experience. I've had the good fortune of working with one of these investors, and investors are an interesting group. And that particular one, they always do what they're going to say they're going to do, and they say they're going to do it. They put a large deposit down, not a very small one, to try to tie you up and exit in some kind of creative way. And once you're under contract and we pass the 2-day inspection period, they're going to close. So it's if your concern is making sure that we work with somebody that's not going to play any games and that will be done and complete, then that's my professional experience. And they would go with them as a result. Now, I have had other people, investors, that will hold you up, and you learn this through experience, tie you up, then try to sell the property or wholesale it, not be able to do that, come back, try to beat you up on price, play that whole game, or bombard me with offers on every single property that comes on the market and flood my staff with AI offers all the time. It's like, dude, that's over time. If somebody asks my opinion, I'm going to give them my honest assessment. We'll present all offers. Here are all the offers. And then if they say, well, what do you think, Jose? You're like, well, this is what I would propose. So I think that what you're saying is 100% accurate. We've worked with Jose in the past. I know that he pre-qualifies all of his buyers. It's very rare, if ever, we've worked together in the past and his buyer's financing didn't come through. So he does his due diligence there, and he knows what he's doing. So if we want to ensure that we have a very smooth and easy transaction, these offers seem to be very similar in terms of terms and conditions to you. My suggestion would be is that, it would make sense to work with that particular buyer because they're associated with Jose.
Not only that, but the goal is to build relationships with other agents and have a good reputation in town, meaning that you do good business, basically. That is the ultimate goal, where regardless of what happens, you're communicating to people, you're not doing anything shady, you're trying to just create a win-win proposition for the other agent, basically, and then just deliver on whatever it is that you're promising. So in addition to that conversation, you could use that moment to say something along the lines like, let me tell you a little bit about my client. My client has been shopping for homes for X amount of time, like a year, and they haven't written any offers on any properties. This is the only property that they have written an offer on, which means that this is the only property that they've liked enough to do it. This is why I'm being so persistent, because this client is basically like, Jose, I want this property. Let me tell you a little bit about this client. This client is a client that I've worked with on 10 different times with their family members. They are the nicest people and the easiest people to work with. What that means for you is that everything that I'm telling you that they're going to be buying it as is and they're going to deliver on everything is rock solid. You don't have to question it. You don't have to question it at all. So the other questions, oh man, this thing logged me out, but okay. Yeah, so there's questions about price that you can ask. There's questions about prices, contingencies. What other contingencies do the people have? There's questions about timelines, meaning what's the ideal close of escrow? Are they contingent upon them closing a property? They are questions about services like escrow and title, home warranty. And then there's questions about them double ending the property as well too. So I may ask, for example, are you you have 3 offers. Are you representing any of the offers? Is that important to know?
When you do that, it might get a little sensitive and touchy, right?
No. I think it's just the way, hey, Jose, obviously, I just want to be as transparent as possible with you. I know that there's 3 offers. Are you or anyone from your team or anybody that you have a special relationship with, are they representing any of the three offers?
Now, talk to me a little bit about why you're asking that. I know why, but let's for everybody
Well,
that's listening.
the reason you're asking that is that not all agents work the same way. There's some agents that like will be like, look, I'll never represent a buyer on the listing. And there's some agents that have a business practice that they love to double lend stuff, and they will do everything that they can to double lend it. And you will notice these patterns on the MLS. So like a good exercise might be like, if you're submitting an offer, to look back at like the last 10 deals that they did where they represented sellers and see if they represented any of the offers as well too. That way you know what type of player that you're dealing with. So if you know that an agent is accustomed to doing dual agency on 50% of their listings, you're going to have to be even more competitive, because essentially you know that there's a very high chance that they're trying to do the same thing on that
Not
property.
only more competitive, but more persistent in ensuring that
More
your offer
persistent.
gets presented.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that they don't present the offers.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that they will do everything that they can to try to represent the double. And you can't blame them. There's double the commission a lot of the times, and most agents only sell 3 to 4 properties a year. But it's always good to know. Now, here's where you want to be careful with. If they say, not at this moment. Not at this moment. What are they telling you when they say not at this moment?
There's a chance. There's a good chance. There's something we're working on. We're trying to write it up. Like something's coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or where agents make a mistake here is they'll say something along the lines like, are you representing any of the buyers? And they may say no, but you didn't ask, is anyone from your team representing any of the offers?
Yeah.
Or is there somebody that like you're very close with? Like sometimes I'll ask, is there anybody from your company? Or I follow a lot of the agents on Facebook. I'll be like, hey, I know you're really good friends with this person, this person, and this person. Are they representing any of the offers? I just want to know. Why? Because I'm better to give better advice to our clients if I know, like, once again, it's poker. Imagine knowing all the hands. Now, if I know that, I may include an escalation clause. I may include different terms. I may, the client may approach this in a different manner. So that's a different question that you, double lending questions. Are you representing any of the offers? And then understanding the seller's motivation, basically. That is really important. Hey, what's your client's situation? Like, why are they selling? Are they contingent upon finding anything else? Like, what is their opinion? Like, what is their opinion about FHA? Like, if they had an offer that was FHA versus a conventional that were exactly the same, would they give any preference to the conventional offer? Hey, like, your client is VA or ex-military, would they give preference to a VA offer versus a conventional offer? Is that important to know? Because I've had clients that they want to, does your client have any preference, whether it's a family or an investor? I've had situations where the seller wants a family to move into the neighborhood.
Yeah,
I've had situations.
Their preference is for
a family. So if you have an investor that's buying the property or somebody looking at it as a secondary home, you're automatically at a disadvantage right there.
Yeah. So the whole idea behind all of this is that prior to giving any guidance, I have to gather as much information as I possibly can. And what you're describing is how to go about gathering that information via questions and creatively asking different questions so I can get as much information as possible. So that way, when you go back to the buyer after doing that reconnaissance and gathering all that information, you're like, okay, so here's what I was able to discern from the listing agent. And you can go over the high points. You could go this, and this. There are this amount of offers on the table. They haven't actually presented them yet. It seems to be they're in the range between this and this. They wouldn't actually confirm. And it also seems like what the seller's really interested in the offer are these terms and conditions.
100%.
So now prior to us deciding the offer that we're going to make, because ultimately this is your decision. My job is just to help you to make an informed decision. It's never to talk you to do anything. What I'd like to do is review the reasons why you feel like this is the home for you. Yep. And let them tell you, well, it's got this, it's got the schools, I can put my dog in the backyard, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And let's say we're able to get this home for you. It is a competitive situation. Let's say we're able to get it by crafting an offer that increases the chances that they'll accept ours versus another. What will that do for you? How will your life improve in some way? And they're going to be like, wow, it'd be fantastic. How would that make you feel? We want to get to the feeling, because we think that we're thinking beings that feel when we're really feeling beings that think. And we don't buy products and services, we buy feelings and identities. So when they're like, oh, it'd make me feel wonderful and blah, blah, blah. And I've always had this image in my mind of living in a picture perfect house and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And how important is that to you at this stage in your life? It's very important. Okay. So being that it's at that level of importance for you, and being that we have this information that we've gathered from the listing agent, we have a couple choices, options. And whatever you decide, I'll support you, okay? The first option is we come in somewhere between that 720 and 740 range. Based on my conversation, it seems to be that's where they're around. And we're aggressive with terms and conditions. Now, more likely than not, this isn't me being negative. It's just an accurate assessment based on the information that we gathered. We'll probably be like the others, like we really wouldn't stand out too much. And the chances of us getting the property, I think, are very small. Again, that's not being negative. It's just based on the information that we gathered. The second option is we can be more aggressive. And by being more aggressive, that would be above 740. We can put these terms and conditions in that they were looking for. Because remember, they were looking for a closing in this time, and they were looking for this amount down, and like da-da-da. And that would radically increase the chances that we will stand out and our offer will be accepted. Now, I'm very well aware that I'm very respectful of money. I know every dollar counts, right? At the same time, what I'm also aware of, the difference financed between that 735, 740, and 750, it's like $5 a month over 30 years. So a question that only you guys can answer is this property and everything that it'll give to you, all of those ancillary benefits that you just described to me and the feelings that you would get by purchasing it, is it worth that? And that's only a question that you can answer. So my question to you is based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, based on the time frame you'd like to make this happen in light of how important this is for you and all the things that you'll get by purchasing, what do you think we should do? And then be quiet. And if you do this right, what they're going to say to you is, well, Jose, what do you think?
Yep.
And that's where you can, well, I appreciate you asking, and I take that responsibility very seriously, which is to protect, your money and make sure we're getting you a good deal and make sure, you get the home that you want. Being that this is the home and we've been looking for a year and this is the only one that you've made an offer on, it fits all the boxes, checks all of them. I mean, it really seems as though that second option of being aggressive, because it's really in the long term, not a big financial difference for you guys, is really the way to go to ensure that we can get this property for you. Does that make sense to you? And they're like, yeah, it makes sense. It's like, okay, so do I have your permission to go ahead and proceed with that? And they're like, well, yeah. And then you move forward from there.
Yeah. And I think that at that point, that's where you have to be strategic. And this is what I'm saying, that you can't be strategic if you don't have a pretty good idea of what's on the table. If you know what's on the table, you're able to be more strategic as to how you guys present your offer. So if you know that it's a contingent sale, you may be able to offer like a rent back where maybe other people aren't renting back. If you know that there's 15 offers and nobody else removed the contingencies, you may remove the like an inspection or an appraisal contingency. You can be strategic, like meaning like, let's say that there's 15 offers on the table and none of them remove the appraisal contingency, but you still have an inspection contingency. Technically, you still have a window where you can walk away due to an inspection contingency. And if you order your appraisal fast enough, if the appraisal doesn't come in, you'll know during that time. And because of the inspection contingency, you can walk away for any reason except for the appraisal, but you can walk away for any reason. So submitting the right offer is going to have to do with how do you present this information back to the client. There's going to be objections. They're going to say things like, well, the home is not worth that much. Or I can't believe somebody would pay X amount of dollars. Or Jose, if we submit a letter, can we submit at 700 versus 720? Because obviously like we're going to write a letter to the seller. Or they may say things like, well, we're super well qualified. I don't know how well qualified those other offers are in it. Those are all going to be concerns that you get from the client that if you learn how to handle those, it's going to put you in a much better position. So the getting the offers accepted comes down to a two-pronged approach. Number one, collecting as much information as you possibly can while doing it ethically and responsibly. And number two, coaching your client on submitting strategically the best offer that's going to put them in the highest position to be able to get that offer. You do those two things well, you're able to get more of your clients' offers accepted.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate. And the more information that you can gather, the better equipped you are to guide, because that's what we're trying. That's what we are here, guys, is the guide, right? The better equipped we are, because in every good story, there's a hero who has a problem. So in this instance, the hero is your client. Their problem is the home that they want has multiple offers on it, right? You show up, you're the guide. Your job is to gather a bunch of information so you can go back to them and we can come up with a plan. And then you call them to action to utilize that plan. And I walked you through how to go about doing that, right? Through asking questions. It's the same thing with sellers. If I do pre-qual right, it's going to radically increase the chances that they'll sign a contract when I see them.
100%.
And the same is true here.
Same exact way. Like, even like if you're submitting an offer, you're going to get this objection. Well, I don't want to be involved in a bidding war. How do you handle that? Like, how do you handle that? Like, meaning, like, if somebody tells you that, most people get stuck on all these. So it's like, if somebody told me, well, I don't want to be stuck in a bidding war. Well, what if I told you that it's actually a good thing to be stuck in a bidding war? Well, what do you mean?
What do you mean, Jose?
What do you mean it's a good thing? What if I told you that because you're involved in a bidding war, that means that you're bidding on something that is extremely desirable in the marketplace and something that other people want? Like, meaning, like, the opposite would be not a bidding war and no offers, which means that you could be bidding on something that other people aren't or isn't as desirable. What it also means is that because it's desirable, there's a very good chance that if you ever come around to selling the property, that because it's desirable, you may have higher chances of getting a better price because it's a desirable product. So I wouldn't get discouraged because it's in a bidding war or not in a bidding war. I would look at it like, how desirable is this property and does it match the wants and needs that I have, basically. Now, the other thing I would look at is, let's say we miss out on this property and you're thinking like, well, I'll just wait for the next one to pop up. And let's say that this one sells at 780. What are the odds that the next property that comes on the market is going to come in at lower than 780? No, what typically happens is the next seller sees, well, my neighbor sold at 780. I want to come in at 785, or I want to come in at 790,000. So now that new sale at 780 has set the benchmark for the rest of the neighbors. And because we're in a market that's going up like this, the longer you wait, the higher that you're going to have to pay for a property. I've had clients that very early on that they missed out on 2 or 3 properties and they ended up buying something inferior at a higher price because they didn't want to pay an extra $5,000 on a property. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't know how to basically coach them.
And that's a fact. Like, you're not just saying that. Like, I've had that happen too. You know what I'm saying? And I love how you also, like, you were like, yeah, I appreciate where you're coming from. At the same time, it's interesting because if a property is really desirable and you end up purchasing it, when you go to sell it, do you think it'll be equally as desirable?
Yeah.
So do you think that would increase as a seller, you would be in a bidding war? And isn't that a position you'd want to be in?
I bought an apartment complex that had 18 offers. The list price was 1.6. I bidded 1.724 and I got my offer accepted over 18 offers. Guess how much that building's worth right now? We just got it appraised. Just guess. We bought it in 2020, like October of 2020. Just guess.
What'd you pay for it?
1.7.
Oh, with all the stuff you've done, I don't know, 6 million?
No, 1.7 million, less than 4 years ago.
Which one, the 10 unit or the other one?
No, the 11 unit.
Oh, the 11 unit. Oh, I don't know, 3 million?
3 million. Yeah, exactly. Appraised at $3 million, bro. Okay. Is a bidding war bad? No, it's not bad. as long as like I looked at that property, I'm like, I'm getting it at 156,000 a door, 0.8 miles from the beach. I'm like, I'm never going to see an opportunity like this. I'm like, is this the right timing? No. I'm like, but can I walk away from this? No. I got to pull the trigger on this. Now it's worth $3 million, guys. Is a bidding war bad? No, it's not bad. So it's going to come down to like getting really good at building relationships with other agents. I when I got into the business, I looked up who all the top listing agents were and I added them on Facebook and I started to get to know them. So and they started to get to know me so that when I submitted offers, they were already familiar with me. Be like, hey, Jose, how you doing? You know, like I saw that you just had that you just won a award. Congratulations on that. Now it became a relationship. I got really good at pre-qualifying the listing agent, meaning asking a series of questions to find out as much information. And then I got really good at presenting that information to our clients. Now your client has all the information that they need to make a great decision. And they get to decide whether they want the home or not. Now,
right. Just like what we walk through, once I've gathered all that information, then I was like, then you can go back to your client and be like, here's the information that we gathered. And what I'd like to do is just ask you a couple questions about the home prior to us coming up with a plan.
Yeah.
So tell me all the reasons why. So it's about them because they're the hero in their own story. You're just the guide. Once you get clear on why it's important and why it's so valuable, now here's the two plans that we can utilize. One is this one, which the chances of us getting what we want are very small. One is this one where the chances of getting what you want is very high. And then where we broke it down, like the difference in money, amortized out. I mean, it's money. I don't want to, make little. I know we all work hard for every penny. I know I sure do. At the same amount, $5 a month is probably not going to dramatically affect your life one way or the other. What will have much more of a bigger impact is having your kids in the backyard and having, guests over and throwing house parties and all the memories that you're going to create in the home. So, and that's only something that you can decide. I'm not here to twist your arm at all. So based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, based on all the reasons why you shared with me this home is the one for you, and based on, the information that we gathered, which one of these options do you think would serve the Morales family best? And then and just sit in the silence, because it's in that when you shut up there, that's where a decision's going to be made. It's not where you're talking. And they're going to look at each other and be like, what do you think, babe? And like, you know what I mean? That's where that happens.
And then here's another tip of advice. Like I see this happen where an agent will receive a counter. Today's Monday. It's due Wednesday, and they'll submit it on the same day on Wednesday. And it's due Wednesday at 5 p.m. They'll submit on the same day. And I usually like to be like one of the last people that submit an offer, or that one of the last people that comes in with my counter. I will be in contact with the agent the entire time, or I used to, because obviously I haven't represented a buyer in a while. But I will be in contact with the agent. Why? Because things change. I remember specifically on one property, like the agent was like, I'm presenting at Tuesday at 10 a.m. I was on the phone with her like at 9:30. And at 9:50, somebody else was doing the same thing that I did, came in with a better offer than I did. But because I was in contact with her, I was able to be like, hey, look, are we still on board? Is my offer still the offer that you're going to recommend to your client? She's like, no, something different came in. And what I told my client, whenever there's a counter due, I'll be like, hey, I need you to be on standby. Meaning like I am going to be following up until the very last moment. I need you to be on standby, and I need you to be available in case we need to make any adjustments. In that case, we adjusted. They got that property. At that time, we were in a complete seller's market, and that was such a rare property that properties like that at that price haven't come up in that neighborhood. Had we missed out on that property, that family would have missed out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity, because they probably wouldn't have found something like that in that location for that price at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing the right thing for your client as well, too, by helping them get this done. If you get really good at this, now you have something where you can provide actual tangible value, where you can get your clients' offers accepted in situations where other agents may not be able to get their offers accepted.
And this is real value in the marketplace, okay? Much more valuable than, hey, I can get you into a property quickly. Like, it's actually not that valuable. Like, anybody can do that. This is real, tangible value that you can articulate and demonstrate to a consumer that would cause them to want to choose you versus somebody else. And in an environment in which you have to start having conversations about compensation and they may be on the hook to pay you, if you do not demonstrate value, they will hire somebody else.
And you will get fired.
Yeah, you will get fired. So you have, not only did you implement this with super high, results like 80%, sometimes even more of your offers being accepted, but you also taught this to
Other agents.
Other agents and other agents on your team, and they're having the same experience, correct?
100%, bro.
That's what's 100%. Up. So that is what we do here at the Elite Builders, right? We do more deals, and we equip you with what you need to be able to do more deals. I know Josie's a dancing bear today. He's got a bunch of stuff to get to, so we're going to let him bounce a little bit early. Let's go. Let's grow, team. Elite Builders, coast to coast.
Later, guys. Hope this was helpful.